Today, we're going to be answering the question, what is an uncontested divorce? Hi, I'm Max Ruthenberg-Marshall, attorney and founder of Porchlight. If you've seen one of my videos before, you've probably heard me talk about uncontested divorce. I talk about it a lot. That's because it truly is the best, most painless way to go through the divorce experience. So what exactly is an uncontested divorce? An uncontested divorce is where both spouses agree to all the issues that need to be resolved in the case before it's filed in the court. Those issues are division of assets, division of debts, spousal support, and if you have children, custody and parenting time, and child support. You're going to agree to those terms in a really deep level of detail. It's going to be written out in court documents, and you and your spouse are going to sign them before the case is ever filed. So that's it. An uncontested divorce means you agree and work things out with your spouse before going to court. So some people think, well, hey, that sounds pretty simple. Do I really need an attorney to do an uncontested divorce? An attorney is not required for an uncontested divorce, but it is an extremely good idea to have one. One reason is that all the documents you're signing are legally binding documents. So the agreements you're working out with your spouse are going to have legal consequences going forward. And particularly if those agreements involve children, so if you have children together, that's going to affect your co-parenting relationship going forward. You really want an attorney to prepare these documents and make sure that they've covered all scenarios and are well suited to your situation. A lot of things in divorce cannot be undone. So if you try and do the documents yourself and you make a mistake, you might be out of luck going forward. Another reason to hire an attorney is because they can spot red flags in your agreement. You and your spouse may get along great and have easily agreed on every single issue. But sometimes the agreements you've come up with could actually cause problems down the line that you're just not aware of because this isn't your field of expertise. An attorney's going to look over those terms, and if an agreement is problematic, they're going to point it out to you, and they're going to recommend some alternatives that can still achieve your short-term goals, but not create you problems in the long run. Another reason to hire an attorney is that they can navigate the court process for you, making the whole experience faster and easier. Navigating the courts can be complex and stressful, so if you're trying to do it on your own, you can get very overwhelmed easily. But attorneys navigate the courts every day, so they already know what's going on, and they can push your uncontested case through the court system really quickly and get that final divorce decree for you. So let's talk about the pros of uncontested divorces. First, an uncontested divorce is faster than a contested divorce. When you file a divorce, it's actually litigation. A lot of people don't realize that. And there are a lot of technical components and steps to litigation. And yes, even though it's just a divorce case, your divorce case is going to go through those components and steps. So if you and your spouse can reach an agreement and file an uncontested, things are going to go much more quickly. A second reason to file an uncontested divorce is that it's easier than a contested divorce. As I just talked about, there is a lot of complexity in the divorce process that can include discovery, answering questions that the other side asks you under oath, producing certain documents that you probably don't want to produce, and going to court hearings, among other things. So if you do the uncontested process by agreeing first, you get to skip all those unpleasant steps. A third benefit of going with an uncontested divorce is greater control in the result. In an uncontested divorce, you and your spouse are agreeing to the terms. Yes, you may not get everything that you want, but you're not going to get that in front of the judge either. And with the judge, you're leaving a lot more up to chance. I have seen judges come out with some wacky results in my years of practice. And while most of the times you know what your case might look like going into the courtroom, there is always a chance that things will go totally in the opposite direction of what you expected. A fourth and probably most people's favorite benefit of an uncontested divorce is that it's less expensive than a contested divorce. Obviously, there's less work involved in an uncontested divorce, so even if you hire an attorney to guide you through the process, that attorney is going to be doing much less work for you than if you were going through all those complex steps of litigation in a contested divorce. Thus, the attorney's fees are going to be less expensive. A fifth benefit of an uncontested divorce is that there is less drama. Once you get in the court system, even spouses who get along pretty well can find themselves in conflict just because of the nature of the court process. And guess what? Sometimes attorneys don't actually help. Attorneys' jobs are to advocate for their clients. So when you're in a contested process, they're fighting to get the result that you want, and the attorney on the other side is fighting to get the result that your spouse wants. Whereas if you decide to go through it amicably with an uncontested divorce, everyone can work cooperatively together. So your attorney is still protecting your rights, but not doing it in an aggressive and contentious way. So are there any cons to an uncontested divorce? Well, in my opinion, no. But there are some situations where an uncontested divorce might not be an appropriate choice. So one example is situations with domestic violence. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean every situation with domestic violence. In some cases, survivors of domestic violence might actually feel better not going through the court process, as that can be re-traumatizing. But in some cases, they do need to go through the court process and have the court intervene and set up protections for them and have an attorney advocating for them, rather than trying to agree amicably with their spouse and use an uncontested divorce process. Another situation where an uncontested divorce is usually not the most appropriate experience is when there is a significant power imbalance between the parties. So this can be like we just talked about in domestic violence that creates a power imbalance. Often you see power imbalances in financial situations, particularly if one person has stayed at home and the other person has a lucrative career. That can create a financial imbalance in cases. Another situation where you can find imbalance is if one person has a lot of family and community support in the area and the other person doesn't have a lot of support locally in the area. It can be harder for them to go through the divorce process. So it's not necessarily that an uncontested divorce is always a bad choice for these cases, but it is something that you should talk about with your attorney. And of course, when spouses can't agree, that is also a situation where an uncontested divorce is not going to work. Now, generally, I recommend, unless there is extreme conflict between you and your spouse, that you at least try the uncontested divorce process before going the contested route. But if you just know you and your spouse are never going to reach an agreement, you may want to start with the contested process. At Porchlight, we focus on uncontested divorces because we know they're a better experience for our client. If you want to get through your divorce as painlessly as possible, reach out to us. We're here to help.